problem and I'm an alcoholic. And it's good to be here tonight. It's good to be anywhere, somewhere in my right mind. You know, this has been a fantastic weekend. You know, and it started off kind of rough, you know. My wife Thursday night had to pick up my daughter from the airport. The plane was late because of turbulence or whatever, it was raining. So she didn't get home till 1 or 2 o'clock. We had reserved a car. And when we got there, they said they had no more cars. You know what I mean? And we get to the car rental place. We got this plan. And I guess God had other plans. You know, but y'all taught me one thing to do is when things are not working out the way you think they should go, just go in another direction. And that's exactly what we did. I had a truck sitting home during COVID for a year and a half, didn't move it, right? And luckily I got it tuned and a few other things done. So I said, we going. We're going to take that truck and we're going to go get the air conditioner charged because the truck is 12 years old. She's an old girl. And I got the air conditioner charged. Everything just fell right in place. Boom, boom, boom. And we left like the Beverly Hillbillies. Yeah. And it brought us to Canada. It brought us 500 miles. And always I've learned to depend on a power greater than myself. And there's always not a clear-cut path to where I need to go. But somehow God opens that vision up for me. Always. You know, and before I used to just give up hope, I would stop. You know, I'm thinking I would call out and say, I can't make it, man. Things fell apart. But I knew, you know, that I needed to be here with y'all this weekend. You know, and, you know, as Cindy was talking, and, you know, Bob Dow was talking. When Bob was talking, and he talking about the girl with the little girl with the vending machine, hand stuck in the vending machine. That was some powerful stuff. And I remember Kent came to New Jersey 8 or 9, 10 years, a while back. And he talked about 2,000 years ago, there was sent the Christians to the lions. And there were 5,000 people, thousands of people showed up in the Coliseum. I'm not talking about Christians, this is talking about the story here. And they would put thumbs up or thumbs down. And it was socially acceptable. They were fine. Everybody looked to do it on Saturday night. It's like going to the football game. But Ken said, was it morally right? So what's socially acceptable, maybe not always morally right. So that's what I took away from Kent from back then. I always try to get 1 pearl or 2 pearls when somebody talks. And I just want to talk about Cindy a little bit. Cindy. My girl. Cindy came to our group maybe about 4 months ago, 5 months ago. And she did a talk. And Cindy goes through it physically. I have a lot of friends that go through it physically. And Cindy was going through it that night. But Cindy showed up at our group and carried one of the strongest messages I heard on that particular step that night. And it was so easy for Cindy to cancel. But she didn't cancel. She showed up. And then she came back next week and she was in a different place the following week. You know that she had felt better the following week. But that's when you talks about, it ain't the lips, it ain't the tongue in your mouth. It's the tongue in your shoe that counts. You know, and that's when I could see Cindy's tongue in her shoe. Tomorrow, I think, tomorrow. Mickey Sponsee, tomorrow. Tomorrow said he just met Mickey this weekend. This guy is giving service out there all weekend, right? It lets you know that this Zoom thing works. The Zoom thing works. I told tomorrow, last Saturday this time, I was with my sponsor from Nashville, Tennessee, and I had never met him before in my life. You know, and I think about how this thing, kind of works and how it's changed. Now, I love face meetings, don't get me wrong. I got the best of both worlds here. You know, I got a face meeting I can go to, or I can zoom in. You know, and I'm so grateful for that. But that ain't what got me here. That's not what got me here. You know, what got me, I think about what's an alcoholic, right? What is an alcoholic? My sobriety date is July 26, 1986, right? And I got here as a young man, you know, and what got me here is that I'm a selfish, self-centered individual. And I think about my mom, you know. My mom always would bail me out or get me out of trouble. I think about my mom, my dad, we had a couple houses. My parents did pretty well for themselves. And my dad would make, in the house we had out in the rural area, one house, and it had a grapevine. He would make this great wine every year. By Christmas it was ready. It was done. And my mother would drink like this half a glass of wine. And she would feel this slightly out of control feeling. She goes over and sit down and don't do that no more till the following year. I drink that same glass of wine. I'm going to say this in my words now. I get a slightly in control feeling that's going to make some happen feeling. That's the difference how my body metabolizes alcohol. And so what got me to you guys is this. I am selfish and self-centered to the core of who I am. And I've been that way since a kid. I was maladjusted way before I got the alcohol. You know, the disease I always had it. You know, and so, God, coming along, when I got about 13, 14 years old, I always felt like a square peg in a round hole. Always had like Cindy had said today, you know, always had, you know, a soft spirit. I felt too deeply, and I was too emotionally challenged. I always felt deeply. And I covered it up by being tough. Being tough. It wasn't tough. I never was tough. I was actually a punk. I was not tough. But I covered up, and I could really put that show on well. And I could fight pretty good. So that kind of back, put it this way. I ain't never had a fight with nobody that I wasn't scared to death. Not once. When our book says, fear, when you're cocky, make you cocky, it's worse. Fear always made me cocky. When you see me coming, I'm scared to death. You see me in somebody's face arguing, I'm scared to death. You know, I'm scared to death. So all this is going on inside me, and the drink nowhere near me. Nowhere near me. I steal the neighbor's car, go for a ride. I don't care who pays the penalty. My brother right over me, he go out there and put a motor. If I hurt the motor or something, my brother fix it. We had a big garage, he'd go fix it. I'd be in the house looking out the window at him. And he'd be in the garage fixing it. People always caught my back. Because I was the baby boy. So they caught my back. Because I didn't care what I did to you. Drink nowhere in sight. Nowhere there's a drink. You know? So I'm on probation. If you got this kind of personality, you're going to end up on probation. You know what I mean? You know, I come from a home that my mother sent me to school with a tie and a shirt on. And we kind of was okay. I had the opportunity to go to private school. I had every opportunity available. My parents bought me a car when I was 15 years old. It was 2 years old. I had a 66 Super Sport in 1968. Their car was a 64, and they bought it new. And I'm 15. I can't go nowhere but up and down the driveway. They did it so I would stop stealing cars. But I could not stop stealing cars. And then I did that then because I had a car. But I'm showing you I didn't care about what it cost you. Drink nowhere in sight. Didn't care about nothing. So a little girl, I don't know, about 16 or 17, she started liking me. And if you got low self-worth like I do, if somebody really, really like you, you grab hope like glue. And I grab hope like glue. But she never knew that I was afraid that she would walk away one day. She never knew that I had all these fears. She never knew it because I was so tough. I always showed her this tough, and she liked it that, this guy's tough, he's wild and crazy. And all the time, I'm just scared to death. But she thought, no, my man tough. So she just would cater to me. Oh, you talking about feeding an ego proposition? A broken man like me with somebody doing this and the acting this way towards me? Oh, Lord, I will suck you dry. So she got pregnant, I think she was 17, and she got pregnant with my son Calvin, right? The probation told me, the judge, last time I went to see him, right? I remember me and my brother and my mom riding, and my mother's driving, my brother, he's in the Navy. My brother right over 9 years older than me. So we going up to Somerville, that's the county seat. That's where the court's at. And we going up there, my mother looks back in the back seat, and I'm sitting back there, and she said, boy, said 3 of us going up there, 2 of us coming back. They're keeping you, right? And she get up to that courthouse and she begs that judge not to lock me up. And he didn't. He gave me a suspended sentence from the jail that my son's probably close to sitting at right now. Right now, my baby. She begged him not to do it. And he didn't. But the probation officer said, you gotta go get a job. He said, you're a good kid, you just run with the wrong folks. He didn't know I was the wrong folks. So I went out looking for a job. I wanted to do some newspaper runs or something, or something, work at a store, stocking shelves, or some silly stuff. I didn't want no real job. I'm a kid. I don't want no job, Plus I can go calm my mother. Well, still my dad's power too, so I don't know, whatever, So I don't really want no real job. But I know I don't want to go to jail neither. So I start hunting this job, and I go around, nobody hired me. I got to this Fortune 500 company, and they hired me. And I stayed there 39 years. 39 years. Should have been fired many times. Many times. But in the meantime, me and this girl that had this boy, and we're going to raise him, and now she got a job for the same company. And we work at the same time with Johnson & Johnson, major company. She goes back to school, gets associate's degree, get another degree, and she gets a job at AT&T. She's making a lot of money. I'm making a lot of money. We're 20 years old. We got more than all our friends ever had. I got 2 new cars. I got everything materialistically. So if material stuff fixed us, if it would fix me, I would have been fine back there because I had everything. My kid had everything that he could want for. But if you like me and you're so selfish and self-centered, and somebody really loves you and care for you, don't know how to treat them right. And she would ask me, Cal, why you just don't touch me like you hold my hand like you used to? Why, I got you now. Why I got to do all of that? I'm going with the boys. They come in, they call, I'm going. I drink nowhere in sight. So she run back to her mother's house, treat her like kind of rough, and she'd go and she'd run back with the forth. I thought that's what I see my brothers do it. I figured that's what happens. Right? And one day she ran off and somebody made her a better deal. Now you think about it, I'm a selfish, self-centered individual. My ego can't take this. I'm feeling lonely, I'm scared, insecure. Every emotion that I possibly could have pops up. Every emotion pops up. And I want her back, but I don't want her back so I can just treat her right. I want her back because I want to punish her, right? How dare you? Now, I did the same thing she done lots of times. The girl do it once and I'm about to die. About to die. 21 years old. And I can't share my experience with nobody because they think I'm a punk. But I get out there anyway. And so anyway, I end up with somebody else's wife, somebody else with mine. It was just messy, real messy. And what happened was, and I came through half of that without a drink, and then one day I couldn't take all the noise in my head. I couldn't take all the doubt in myself. I couldn't take no more being more than you or less than you. I couldn't take no more of that kind of thinking. And I picked that drink up, and it quieted all them noises. I felt whole for once in my life. I felt like I had arrived. I felt like I fit. And it shut down them noises. I didn't care what you thought. I didn't care what nobody thought about me. I had arrived. as Bill Wilson would say, I had arrived. And if anything make a person like me that's maladjusted to life feel that way, I'll chase it into the gates of hell. I only drink 10 cold years. And I'm going to back the story up. I mean, I smoked some pot early on. That's what I used to smoke. But it made me paranoid, right? After a while, I got paranoid. Because I was thinking, I can't do this. Drink never made me feel that way. Drink was my solution. It was my solution. So I drank myself right out of that. I got it back. I went up with it. I want to tell you, now I'm 21, 22. My son Calvin is 3. And they got their program. My wife's parents came from a nice home out in Somerset. So my wife, ex-wife, well, I don't know if she was that or not. But anyway, close to that. But anyway, I had to move on. My future wife was pregnant. Put it that way. My future wife was pregnant. Now she good and she big, and I'm in the car and I told my first wife, I told her boyfriend, I said, as soon as I catch you or I see you, it's on and popping, boy. See, I'm selfish and I don't think that everything, I don't give nothing up. She always going, I'm holding on. I don't even know how to do this. I don't want it, but I don't know nobody else to have it. That's the level of selfishness I live at. With nobody else to have it. And I'm drinking like a fish. So I see this boy, and I make that wish come true. I see him, it's snowing outside, my son, and I see him, he pulls up in front of the house, I pull up. He get out the car, I get out the car. I run up to him, and I see in the snowbank, I see a empty beer bottle, I pop and I'm popping with it, right? And I don't see nothing wrong with this. And my wife, my girlfriend, or going to be wife, in the car pregnant. Everybody else standing in the snowbank. My kid's 3-year-old, he watching his dad do this. And I don't see nothing wrong with it. Somebody talked about today how we become, I know I did, I became like an animal. I didn't think I had a choice. I thought that I had to do things a certain way. I didn't learn about choices until I got to you people, to you guys. I learned then that I had a choice. But other than that, I thought I even had a choice. My son talks about that to me today. My son's 50 years old now. And he's the man I hope to be. He is the man I hope to be. No, this stuff. And I drink myself, and now I got divorced and I got remarried, and all I'm doing is I'm going to up the ante. I'm not going to think, because I'm thinking the only reason she got away, I wasn't slick enough. I wasn't fast enough. I didn't move quick enough. Because I thought that's what was needed. I thought that's what she wanted. And the same pattern started happening. This girl started sliding backwards and forwards to her parents, and one day the same thing. You do the same thing, looking for a different result, you get the same solution. You get the same answer every time. Every time. And these girls truthfully love me. It wasn't the idea. And looking back in hindsight, I mean, they used to tell me, say, I would die for you, Calvin. They at the end of the relationship said, I want you dead. I'm on the job. I've been on that job, and I'm going there drunk every day. And the boss said, Calvin, you don't come to work on Friday and Monday. He said, you just do whatever you want. You come here and rout the troops, and I used to do just that. But they seen something in me as a kid, as a young man, that I didn't see. They knew it was a better Calvin in there somewhere. They knew it. They seen there was a better man, because I was there, and I used to come and do the right thing at that job. And that drinking really, when I started to really drink, it just took me downhill because I couldn't show up right. But they kept telling me, yo, man, you can't keep doing it like this. They say you hell when you well, but you ain't well often lately. My mother, I would come over my mother's house, I would come over there, and my mother was the one that always put on the family reunions and the cookouts and do all that. And she loved doing that, right? And I would come over there and she would look at me and I would be there and I would threaten to leave. They ain't treating me right, Mom, I gotta leave. And she like, okay, Calvin, be gone. And I would leave and I had nowhere to go. You know that lonely feeling? That feeling of separation that I felt? I felt separated from God and I separated from my family and my people. I felt separated. And I kept drinking and I kept drinking. And so what I remember that I missed some work the boss told me, look here, man, if you miss a Friday or a Monday, we're going to suspend you. Now, I knew all I had left to say I was somebody with this old piece of job, not piece of job, a good job, but so I knew they wasn't playing. But I remember my oldest brother that went to this treatment center. I know it didn't work, but he knew all the mechanics of it. It sounded good. I know he got out and started drinking again, but he had everything. He had a wife that just took care of him, and he did really well financially, and right to the day he died, he had that, like that, but he, And I remember he went to this treatment center, and I thought, well, you got a good job, you got good health insurance, you can run up to this treatment center. So I ran up to the treatment center, and it was Christmas time, right? I said, I ain't going in there, I got a Christmas present to buy. Like I was going to give somebody a present or buy something for somebody else. But I would come with all these excuses why I couldn't do it. But by March of that year, alcohol had done whipped me well. And I ran up there, and I knew that boss wasn't playing, and I took off a few days, and I knew I was in trouble. Wife in and out, boss trying to fire me, parents telling me, goodbye, dude. Everybody's stepping off. I went to have treatments. I went up there and I stayed 28 days in a treatment center. The first time I ever heard of Alcoholics Anonymous. I remember my buddies was talking about, sit up, we get all drunk and say, I'm an alcoholic. We were just making it, I thought it was just a joke, And, I got there, we going out to these meetings and stuff, and they take me to these meetings, and some of them are pretty big back then when I got sober. And I go to these meetings, and I'm sitting in the meeting, and it's a recovery all around me. But I'm so self-absorbed that I can't even hear a word they say because I'm so full of myself. I can't hear you. Not when I'm totally stuck in self. All I hear is myself. What I'm going to do? What that girl do? What the kids do? What my boys doing? I'm stuck in self. I can't hear nothing in that meeting. But alcohol's a funny twist, right? If you don't hear it, it'll beat them ears open. I went to that treatment center and I stayed 20 days. And I'm 32 years old. I get healthy real fast. They got a golf course. I'm playing golf. I'm not playing golf. I'm just driving the balls anyway. And I think I am. And I swim in the pool and they playing volleyball. We have picnics and barbecues. And I mean, shit, I thought I was the Club Med or something. I'm like, man, you're on vacation. And I was separated from a drink for 28 days. But let you know that when they say this disease centers in the mind and not the body, 100% true. Because it's like somebody going to jail. And they go to jail for 5, 10, 15 years, and they come out and they get drunk and they drug all over again. If the mind doesn't change, or you don't hit a bottom, or you don't hit a have a surrender, you will do this again. You will do this again. So I got out on Friday and I got drunk on Sunday. But one thing happens, if you got a head full of AA and a belly full of alcohol, don't mix. It don't mix. Now I know it's a better way. And now I'm starting to go to meetings around my area and people I thought were dead or in jail during Alcoholics Anonymous. I hope I'm not saying nothing wrong, we're popping on too close. But anyway, I thought either they're dead or they're in jail. And they're in Alcoholics Anonymous getting better. So every Saturday morning, I'm running around to the treatment, to AA meetings. And and I'm drunk as Cooter Brown in the morning. And if God was working with me, he had lost everything. He lost his wife. He lost his job. He lost his driving license. And he was in AA. And he asked me, he said, Calvin, you give me a ride home. And it was 2 towns away. I said, sure, Richie. And I took Richie home, and he was telling me, Calvin, you ain't got to lose no more. You can get off here. He was my Eddie. He was my Eddie. I heard him. And I drank a little longer. And it came that day that a friend of mine was having a party. Now, I'm backing up to Christmas time before I get there. It was Christmas. My wife had came back. My midwife, I like to call her my midwife. She came back home. And she said, there's one condition, Calvin. I said, what that? She said, you go to church. Now, I didn't want to go, but I'm thinking, well, that or burn the house down because I can't cook. People waking up, I don't know, inside my house. I said, okay, deal. So New Year's is coming, 1985 on 1986. She takes me to this church. New Year's Eve, we're going to bring New Year's Revolution into the church. And I've been with my dad. My dad and them owned the junkyard, and I've been drinking with him all day. She takes me home and washes me up and have my suit laid out, and we go to this church. And it's bright, and I'm sitting in the front row of this church. I don't want to be here. And what happens is, you ever been where the drunk starts coming off you and that irritable and discontented feeling come on? No. I'm sitting in front of that church, and if you go to a black church, they pretty lively. Tambourines banging and people moving and jumping, and I'm thinking, oh, how did I get here? How did I get here? Woman jumped up with the Spirit. I jumped up with her. I said, sit your behind down and shut up. Go home. I don't even remember. I'm kind of like in a blackout kind of thing. I don't remember what happened. I get home, my daughter, she's like 8 or 7 at the time, 8, said, Daddy, you did it this time. I said, what? But you wouldn't tell me. And I didn't know. She said, you did it this time. But she wouldn't tell me. What did I do? She said, ooh. So that was the end of my church career. I had to go no more. And I said to myself, I don't need AA, I don't need God, I don't need people, I don't need nothing. All I need is not drink. And so I'm going to do this. So I didn't start drinking for 3 months went by, from New Year's to March. I said, oh, you're doing great. Like how Bill Wilson said, cockiness kept me sober for a while. And one day that thought came. Suddenly the thought comes. You made too much of that back there. You made too much. I drank a bottle of Coke 45, and the insanity must have been in the bottom of the bottle. Because I went cold crazy. And I didn't come up for air. I did not come up for air. And I went to a party about a little after that. I went to a party. A friend, a girl people I used to run with, and she had a party, and a guy here nasty just like me, and I took him to my house. Because I always had a weapon, because I always scared somebody gonna get me. And I had a bat, and I started whacking this guy with a bat. I think, and he was running. My mother's out there, and my mother was a prominent woman who would come from a house that had sit on a little hill with a big picture window. My daughter's 8 years old. She's in the picture window looking at her daddy, acting sane. She has seen me do this many times. But now I've been introduced to y'all, and all these emotions are popping. And like I said, a head full of AA and a belly full of alcohol don't go together. And she in that picture window, and I see her looking at me. And she didn't see me act like this before. This is no new news to her. And I knew me and my mother were going to have that talk. Now, I'm making a lot of money. And so is my wife that I'm with making a lot of money. And I got everybody piled up at my mother's house. My whole family piled up at my mom's house. Because I want to do whatever I want to do with my money. And I knew me and my mother would have that talk in the morning. Like, you got to do something else. You got to make another move because you can't stay here no more. And that treatment center looked real good to me. And plus, back then they had a virus out there. It wasn't putting a little bump on your lip, it was taking you out, right? And since I was faithful dude in the world, I'm thinking to myself, I might have been bumped up against that. And I'm running around to these test sites, and I'm getting tested, and tested, and tested, and tested. And they keep telling me I'm okay, but all the other guilt and shame, I can't get by this thing. So I'm running to the infectious disease doctor. I get a bump, I'm serious, right? You know, I'm hiding in the hallways. I'm back in your day, just could daily test it, and it takes 2 weeks to get the results. And I'm getting tested over and over and over. And they tell me, you're okay. But I just could not believe it. I couldn't believe it. See, God wanted me well. He wanted me with y'all. And He knew I needed that kind of pressure. He knew I needed that kind of pressure. So everything was, all the stars were starting to line up. I just couldn't see them. Looked like pain to me. But the stars were starting to line up. Looking back in hindsight, my friend always said, life lived forward, seen backwards. Life lived forward, seen backwards. Before my mother had that talk, I told my wife at the time, take me back to that treatment center, and she did. And on the way back to that treatment center, I said, pull over to that liquor store over there. And I bought me a pint of rum, or I don't know what it was. I think it was rum. No chaser, no nothing. I just drunk it down. And I knew, this is your last one. I kind of knew that. I love to drink alcohol. I went back to that treatment center, instead of me playing the social butterfly like I did every other time I went back there. You know, when the first time I was there, I always could go from group to group. I was a chameleon. So I could adjust to any group of people. This time I got in the front, because I know with all this going on and all this shame and guilt and all this fear, I know if I don't get this, I'm going to die. I'm going to kill myself. I got in, and I got out of that treatment center after 28 days, and they told me to get a sponsor, join the group. They had told me that before, but I just think, But I heard them this time. But also I thought, because I'm a smart and I'm a fast learner, I thought, hey, you make a lot of money. You know what I mean? You need stuff. Yeah, you need a lot to buy stuff. So I started buying stuff. I bought a brand new Corvette. Brand new. A couple of us said, brand new Corvette. Then I said, well, you need more stuff. I bought a brand new boat. Then I said, damn, you got nothing to pull the boat with. I bought a brand new Jeep to pull the boat. I'm wearing a $500 suit. I'm running 3 miles a day. You know, I'm bench pressing 315. I'm built. Blackhead, you know, I'm just built, right? And I always say, you know, Gucci on the outside and cake off on the inside, right? You know, I was like a stinky can on the outside, but I was shiny on it. I was like a stinky can on the inside, but I was shiny can on the outside. So if you think that this is an outside condition, it's not. The outside will never fix the inside. It'll be temporarily. It ain't happening. This is internal. Oh, so what happened was, I figure you want to share with me, go on. It's okay, man. When I got here and I said I was 2.5 years sober, and something kept telling me, you know, your second wife, that marriage is in trouble, the midwife is in trouble, and it's going to happen the same way the first one did. But now I'm sober in Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm not sober, but I'm not drinking. And a woman told me, said, you need to go back to meetings all the way, not run in and run out. So I started making meetings, like a lot of meetings. I started fellowshipping my behind. People started knowing. I started making 100% people in my home group. I started making coffee. And I would get there back then in our area, meetings was late. So there was a Friday night meeting at 9 o'clock, it was over at 10. And then everybody went to the spot. We had a little clubhouse we went to, and we played cards, and we called it the Trinity House, and so we hung out. So I fellowshiped, and everybody just loved me. I loved them. And I be in that meeting on Friday night, and the people just loved me. Calvin, how you doing? Everybody got to know my name. I knew everybody's name, and everybody knew me. And I could stand in the middle, like I'm standing in the middle of this room, and I still felt that lonely feeling. If anybody ever felt that feeling of disconnection, just lonely, I ain't drinking nothing, but I feel alone. I could stand there. I just wanted to move chairs around. I felt so alone. Right in the middle. People like, Calvin, how you doing? I hear you good, man. I'm okay. Everything's nice, man. But I felt this loneliness. And I felt that loneliness all my life. And when you stop drinking, did not take that loneliness away. People knowing me, I was always could get along with people. But I always felt that loneliness, that disconnection from me. I started riding. I would be riding down a major highway in my city. And something would just jump up out of my subconscious. Like, you did that? See, I hadn't seen those steps. And most of the people back when I got sober, they didn't work the steps. They didn't really do the steps. They kind of talked about them. And the older timers had a way of pulling you wherever they was going. But nobody really knew steps. And so in 30 years ago, in 1992, I went to Frostburg, Maryland. And I seen Joe and Charlie for the first time. What a treat. I came back, I sit there, I was attentive listening to Joe and Charlie. I said, oh my God, these people don't know what these guys are the real deal. This is Alcoholics Anonymous. Oh, where y'all been hiding this stuff at? I come back, I got these books marked, and I'm ready to fight everybody. Tell them, hey, y'all doing it wrong. Y'all sending me to Hazleton somewhere. It's in this here book, right? And they start letting me know, you know what you do with that book, boy? Oh, God. But you stay here, and you keep going, and me and Lana married. I met her at the coffee pot. Now, she crazy as a bed bug, right? I can pick her, right? I can tell you, I can see a crazy one a mile away. That one's for me. Oh, God. And we moved in together, and my God, like fireworks. I ain't never seen diapers. All that craziness out of business, I ain't never seen child services come. Child services coming down. They ain't coming because we physically fighting. They come because the girl can't go to sleep. She can't go to sleep at night because we arguing all night long. Because everybody won't be right. She won't be right, I'm going to be right, and somebody going to be right, and we're going to fight until somebody find out who right. And plus, I want my back rubbed, she want her rubbed at the same time. How do you stick two selfish people in one house and think that's going to be okay? So I know, I'm thinking, oh my God, this is what I done. But now we got a child. And I know if I ain't loyal to nothing, the best I know, I try to be always loyal to them children. And I wasn't the best dad, but I knew that they deserved better than what I was giving them before. And I gave them my best at that time. I know I love my son, Calvin. And I love my oldest daughter, Deborah. And Deborah, my first wife had Deborah. She thought that would pull us back together. Nothing would. Deborah hated my guts. Right? Deborah, 46 years old, August 10th, she'd be 46 years old, hate my guts. Because me and her mother didn't make it back then. And she ain't never thought about it. She said, I want my dad and my mom in the same house. She didn't care about what we went through. She don't care about all that craziness that happened. All she wanted was her dad and me and her mom in that house together. And she still, I don't know about today, but back then that's what she wanted. But I didn't care what she wanted, because I'm selfish, self-centered, without a drink. My midwife, one day, we stand outside my mother's house. And she had a son when I met her. He's like 18. And see, I raised old school. Kid never talked back to their daddy. So he said some old slick stuff and ran across the street over there. And he started telling me how he felt about that. And I snatched his mother. Now I'm 3 years older. And I snatched his mother up and said, come save her, boy. That's what I am without a drink. I don't know what y'all are. That's what I am without a drink. And without this program, these 12 steps in my life. That's what I become. I was that way before I picked up a drink. So what would make me different by putting one down? And they told me, said, Calvin, you gotta work these principles. You gotta apply them in your life. And I knew I can't stay with Lana. I can't do none of this, because I don't know how. I don't know how. So I had a good sponsor, and he told me, he said, Calvin, this is what we're going to do. He said, boy, this is a clean living program. He said, you're a good egg. You'll take people to meetings. You'll do a whole lot. He said, but your personal life sucks. And he was right. He said, so I didn't care about that. When I get in that spot, I want to know what to do. You're going to be kicking at me all day long. As long as you got an answer at the end of that. If you got an answer at the end of that shoe, I don't mind. We can go there, but you better have an answer. And he had one. He said, Calvin, we're going to work from 4 to 9. He said, I know you trust God. And we ain't got a lot of time to play with that because you're suicidal. And oh, God knows you might end up homicidal. I don't know. So I started working those steps, and I started to get better. And Lana must have cared about me because she picked up those steps, and we started getting better together. And we started fighting in that. And then we bought a house together. And we started raising. She started working at a job. And we started living like human beings now. You know what I mean? We started doing this thing, right? You know, but it was a lot longer way to go. You know, I had a lot of opportunities in this program to start correcting my life. You know, and I remember when it started time to make amends to people, and I didn't work the steps, and I went and did a 12th, 4th, and 5th step, and I felt the Spirit of God. I felt it. I felt the presence of a higher power that had been there when I was a kid. That voice used to work when I was a kid. I used to hear, don't do that, Calvin. Lowly. Because the voice is very quiet. It don't make a lot of racket. And if you're noisy, you ain't going to hear it. And I remember the first time I cheated on my first wife. And I'm riding home and that voice said, you shouldn't have done that. The next time I did it, the voice said it a little lower. And then eventually I didn't hear the voice at all. See, I had compromised the principle. I was sliding down the pit and didn't see me doing it. I'm going down in the hole deeply. And the same process helps when we get into this program, we start working the steps. It's like a bell, upside down bell. And we start coming up, and that voice starts coming back. That voice starts to come back. And you start hearing, no, Calvin, don't go that way. And now I listen. I ain't saying all the time, but 90% of the time I listen. And the more cleaner I become as a vessel, the deeper I hear that voice. And I search for that, just like I search for food, air, and sunshine. That's how important the spirit world is to me today. You know, I told you about that daughter who hated my guts. Now she's in her late 30s, mid 30s, and she's drinking like a fish. Crazy girl. Still really kind of hit and miss, really don't want to see her dad too much. One day she calls me. I'm sober a while, and I walk. I'm sober now. I'm not just not drinking. I got a little bit of sobriety. I got something to stand on. A little bit. She said, Daddy, she said, I'm suffering from the disease of alcoholism. And I'm dying. I want to kill myself. I said, she lives in Pennsylvania. She lives in Bethlehem, outside of Bethlehem. And I told her, I said, if you go to the meetings and tell them women what you just told me, they're going to help you because I can't get to you like that. And she told me she went to that meeting that night, that afternoon, and the woman gathered. So you just told me what you told me. And they grabbed hold to her. And that night her husband said, when he flies in, he said, I want you out of here. She walked to that meeting that night. I knew she was on her way. Now she's almost 10 years sober now in Alcoholics Anonymous. She worked these steps and she grabbed hold of me. Now I had a relationship with my daughter that I thought I'd never have. Never had. She called me for it, because I love the program of Alcoholics Anonymous, the big book, I love the steps. And I done got to be of love and service with it, not no big book thumper. I ain't running around here busting nobody in the head. I'm just letting you know, if you want to get better, this thing will do it. So she just grabbed hold to me. And she got in my pocket and never got out. Right? And one night she called me, something happened. She ain't never been sick. She got sick. A belly button popped out or something, right? And she lives 2.5 towns away from me. She lives 10 towns. She lives a whole state away from me. She lives away from me. I got cataracts. And she called me at 10:30 at night. Now I got to drive an hour and a half to get to it. An hour at least it's over. But I got in that car with cataracts and all. And I'm coming. And I found my daughter, and I found her in that hospital, her and her husband. And they told her, she sold, I don't know, 4 or 5 years at the time, maybe 4 years. And they got to hit her with Oxycontin because it's too painful to push this back because they got an IV money. She looked at me like she did as a little girl. And I just nodded my head. And she said, because my daddy said so, go ahead. My daddy said so, you go ahead. She sold a long time. And then I thought, she came here and she done made a lot of money. She was still in curtains out of her other apartment when she left. And the girl made she rich. And they started their own business and she rich. She made a lot of money. Last week she called me from New Mexico. She went out there and sat on some rock somewhere to find God. And I thought I was losing her because she found her own path. And it didn't sound like AA's path. But I could see I was getting ready to start pushing her away because I'm trying to draw her back to AA, and I'm not her sponsor. And I know that. But I don't want to lose her. So something told me, said, Calvin, that little voice, find out about this Reiki thing. Do some research. And I start talking to, looking and reading and found out about Reiki. Then I start talking to her again. And I said, I knew about Reiki. I said, tell me more. And she got back in my pocket. See, I've learned to love. I learned love is not chasing people, not knowing all the answers, but see if I can understand you and be a part of you. And I actually got interested in it myself, tell you the truth. It's really a spiritual thing. But my mind was telling me, only this one path. You can't find it no other way. Alcohol's not with the 12 steps. You in the program with me. Chase this program. She got her own path. And it's not my path. And I just love her. My oldest son had done well for himself. My grandson, Calvin. My son named Calvin, my grandson named Calvin. And my son got a degree from Rutgers, and my grandson speaks 4 different languages. And all my kids got degrees, and most of them. And then we're going to bring it up now to my baby, to my Jesse James boy. Now, all of them did well, so I'm thinking, all of y'all going to do well. So when I come here and talk like I'm doing, I can tell you, like I hit a home run. All my kids that did well, and AA done it, right? My baby boy had a different idea about that. Yeah. He had never been in no trouble until he was 19 years old. Never did go to school for him, none of that. And love him to death. Love him to death. Thank you, babe. I don't know. I'm going to start blowing boogers or blowing snot bowls. He went out there and they beat him up a few good times, right? And he joined one of them gangs, I think. Never been no trouble. He got something in his hand and it didn't end up. Somebody got hurt bad. Few people got hurt bad. I wanted to pay $30,000 and lawyers to keep him out of prison. Thought I was going to help him. All I did was get in this boy's way. The detective told me, don't do that. My friend the cop told me, don't do that. But I'm thinking, this ain't your kid, this is my kid. This is my baby. I cut him loose from his mama. He had sense as a kid. I go spend nights and just hold him in the hospital. No, this is my boy. And all I did was get in his way. He just went and got sentenced maybe about 2 months ago. And we've been up on it. They canceled his sentence 9 times. And it was like on a roller coaster ride. Me and Lana drug us through natural hell. But what it did for me and her both, it made us have lines upon God. Because there was nothing left for us to do but grab hold of God's hand. We don't have no room for nothing else. And sometimes it takes that to let go. So the lawyers told me, he had 2 lawyers, because if you didn't have much money, you get a few lawyers. One lawyer sat on one side, another lawyer sat on the other side. Prosecutor sat at the table, judge sat up there. People with the guns sitting there. So the lawyers talked, then the other lawyers talked, then the prosecutor talked, then Lana talked, and then I talked. They let the parents talk. Then they let my oldest daughter talk. And I told about when Paul was 8 or 9 years old, 10 years old, something around there. My mother gave me $8. My mother. I told the judge this. And I said, we went to the drugstore. I went to the pharmacy for my mom to pick up her prescription. And when we got there, a homeless guy walked by. And Paul said, Daddy, I'm going to give him some money. I said, go ahead, man. He got out the truck and he gave the guy some money. So he got back in the truck. I said, Paul, how much you give him? He said, I gave him the whole $8, Daddy. This is the character this boy's built on. But how fast we can go in the wrong direction into a dark place. Anyway, we in that courtroom, and that judge came in that courtroom that day. And she said, I came, he had a high end of something and a low end. Now, we want the low. This is a crapshoot. That boy had 8 felonies. 8. That judge read some things, I'm thinking, please stop reading this. She said, but I came here and I heard this family. 70 people from AA wrote that boy letters. Because he was in the program. He was out for 2.5 years before he had to go back and sit. And they wrote letters for him because he came to AA meetings. He finished IOP, he worked 2 jobs. He started his own business. He bought his own car. They seen him recovering this boy. And then that judge seen the parent. She said, I came in this courtroom today to make another decision. She said, well, I'm going to give him a lesson. Everything. And that's what she did. The prosecutor said he probably never offend again. We have heard from some people we know. They said, we have never seen that happen. The judge said, I've never seen a prosecutor do what they did for this boy. If we make it, you will see him in another 9-10 months. We don't talk to him that much because he's in the old jail with them gangs, so he stays low, keeps his head down. And it still drives Larry crazy, and it kind of gets to me at times. But I just know the God I serve, he's going to be okay. I know he's going to be okay. I know he's going to be okay. You know, I think about my brother, my middle brother, one that told me when he died. And I'm going to close this up in a minute. And I think about my brother right over me. I had a chance to, I want to go back to this. My midwife died of breast cancer. And I didn't do a good job. I'm sober in Alcoholics Anonymous. But I'm a coward, and I run. I get scared, either a fight or flight kind of thing. And I took flight. Because I had never seen nobody get this level. I'm not worried, but I could have did better than what I did. So my middle daughter, there's another one did, always have a problem with her dad. That's because of that. She had to go there when her mother couldn't stop vomiting. She had to do my job. My mother did my job. Everybody did my job. I still need a lot of growing up in Alcoholics Anonymous. I went to that hospital, and my stepson called me up there, and he said, Daddy, Mommy don't want to go on. I came there, I could make her laugh, get her out of herself and stuff like that. And she said, Calvin, you think we could be together? I said, no, I think we went down our own road. I said, Kathy, could you ever forgive me for the man where I was? She said, Calvin, I've been forgiven. You ain't the man you used to be. She said, could we be together? I said, I think we went too far down our own roads with this one, honey. But I said, I will be there anytime you need me. And she passed on. Now, me and Lana bought a house, and we kind of like, we on the grind. And my kids want me to get a headstone, and I never would buy them. Because she didn't have a marker. About 6 years ago, I took my whole Social Security check, and I got her a marker. And I got my kids, they live in Atlanta, they flew up and they sit at their mama headstone, and but these are the things that I learned to do, that y'all taught me to do. Like I said, my oldest brother, I was there for I knew by the steps it had strengthened me as a man. And I knew that I could do better now. I didn't have to look away no more. And I don't look away no more. I don't have to look away no more. And when my brother got sick, my oldest brother, I was right there the last day he took his last breath. And my middle brother, I took care of him. Nobody there but me, him, and my mom. And I took care of him. And he was mean. But he was mean because he wanted to keep you away from him. Because he always was alone. And I would come in there and I called my sponsor. I can't do this, man. This dude's mean. He said, Calvin, he wants you there. And I would go in there and I'll sit back down. Because all he had was me. So my mother couldn't get up there because she was in her 90s. And I would sit there and we watch shows and cowboy movies together, things like that. And before I would go rub his hair back. And I kiss him on his forehead, right? About a week of that. And I went to leave, and he'd lift up for me to kiss him on his head. Love. Somebody said, I think Cindy said, love will rule. Love will always rule. I took care of my mother. I want to talk about my dad real fast. I'm going to wind this thing up. My dad was dying first. He died first. And my dad was in the garage playing his guitar. And I was, like I told you before, I stole his power tools. And I was selling money, to get gas money. But I straightened that out with him. And he called me in the garage one day. He said, call me Rudy. I said, Rudy, come here, boy. Come here. So I went there and sat down with him. He said, Rudy, is there a God? And I looked at him, because he knew he dying. I said, Pop, I said, I believe there is a God. I said, you can always put some faith in it. But I thought about, he was asking his baby boy that was always in trouble, was there a God? He had seen a transformation in his baby boy. He had seen a transformation. This ain't about information. This is about transformation. And I took care of my mom till she took her last breath. Me and Lana, I had to leave because she had a car accident. And we were going out there, and I was coming back, and I picked her up from work, and I was going right back to the nursing home, right back to where she was at. She was in a rehabilitation center, actually. And I went back there. By the time I come back, we was on the way back, and the people called and said she stopped breathing. And when I got there, she just died. And then people told me, you've been here in real time with her. That day, that Tremont Martin case had guilty, not guilty things going. And I'm sitting next to her holding her hand most of the day as we just sit there watching TV. Holding her hand. And I thought, I get to do this. I get to do this. I'm retired now and I ain't got to work. And God made it fit where I can make enough money to be okay. I'm blessed more. God has given me back all the years of local sleep. And I want to thank you for people from Canada for having me up here to share my experience with and hope, and I hope I did okay. Thank you, guys. Thank you.